Previously, I've talked about the Wizard of Oz Viewmaster reels, but today we'll be talking about another format. Hello fellow Ozians, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be returning to an old topic I haven't discussed in quite some time, and that is Viewmaster. Back in 1957 was when the first three-reel packet of The Wizard of Oz was released by Sawyer's. Now for a complete history on the Wizard of Oz Viewmaster reels, be sure to check out my other videos. Now today we'll be discussing a different format that the Viewmaster company Sawyer's, and later on GAF, produced in the 1950s and 1960s. And that was this format, a slide versus the Viewmaster reel. Now, how exactly did this happen and why was this even made? Well, to answer that question very, very simply, before Viewmaster, there was another stereophonic format, and that was produced in 1932, just 7 years before Viewmaster debuted in 1939, called Tru-Vue. This format used a film strip that was fed into the viewer horizontally, and the film strip would get pushed through the viewer. Now, Sawyer's, the original company that produced the Viewmaster reels, wanted to move Viewmaster into the toy aisle and move it away from the scenic and photography range that Viewmaster had been known for and move them more into a children's toy. And one of the licenses that of course would help them out with this push was acquiring the rights to a little-known company that you might be familiar with called Disney. Now, the rights to use Disney was owned by another company called Tru-Vue. And Sawyer's, of course, saw the opportunity and said, well, guess what? We're gonna buy you. And that is what happened in 1951. Sawyer's bought Tru-Vue. And once Sawyer's had acquired them, they integrated the Tru-Vue brand into something more akin to what they were already producing with the Viewmaster reels, and they created, instead of film strips, film slides. And these are fed into the Tru-Vue viewer from the top, and then it just gets slid down the viewer. Like so. Sawyer's and later on GAF eventually phased out the Tru-Vue slides in favor of just producing more Viewmaster reels with the children's focuses. But before they completely phased them out, we did get a Tru-Vue version of the original Wizard of Oz reels. And they came in a package like this. Now, unfortunately, like a lot of the other Viewmaster reels, there are no dates indicated anywhere on this exactly when it was originally made. Since this has the GAF logo everywhere, including on the slides, we can safely assume that it was at least produced at some point from 1966 to presumably 1969. We know that the Tru-Vue slides were not produced in the 1970s by GAF. One of the differences between these two that you might notice very quickly on is that the images on our slide version are bigger than the ones on the Viewmaster reels. But one of the other unfortunate aspects of these Tru-Vue slides from GAF is that unfortunately they were not produced on Kodachrome film. They used something cheaper that unfortunately has lost all of its color and has faded to red. Now, I own 3 different copies of these slides, and all 3 of them have turned red, so I would safely assume that most likely all of the Wizard of Oz ones were produced using this cheaper film, which is really sad that this is the only format that the Wizard of Oz, at least Viewmaster version, was produced in this format, so you can't see a full color version. One of the other differences between the original Viewmaster version and this version is that the descriptions for each of the pictures is actually included on the bottom of each of the pictures. And the description is actually part of the picture. So you get slightly more descriptive versions of each of the different scenes. These are slightly different from the talking Viewmaster version that I also covered previously, so this is now a 3rd version of descriptions for each of the scenes. Now, while this was only produced for a handful of presumed years versus the Wizard of Oz reels, which were produced for over 40 years, he's had a very long life. You would think that this is exceptionally, possibly rare. I would say it's definitely not as common as, of course, the Viewmaster reels, but it's definitely not in a range of, oh my gosh, this is so rare you'll never see it again, considering I own 3 different copies of this. And I didn't break the bank to get them. That's the other thing. So, if you are interested in picking up the Wizard of Oz Tru-Vue version, how easy, difficult is that going to be for you? I would say it's definitely going to be a little bit harder than the original Viewmaster version, which are plentifully available everywhere. This you might have to wait a little bit longer to find. You are going to be spending a little bit more if you want it in the original packaging. The most I think I've spent on this was $40 on this. I own 2 that are in the packaging, by the way. This is just one of them. This is the better looking one out of the 2. But the loose ones, you'll probably be spending what you would spend on a Viewmaster reel that's loose. Around $10 is what you'll probably be spending on this. Maybe a couple dollars more. Because, like I said, it's more of, I would say, a novelty Viewmaster version than an essential one, especially considering how they're red pictures. So they're not going to be hugely desirable, but certainly a novelty in the original Viewmaster lineup. Be sure to check out my other videos on the Viewmaster reels. And did you ever have the Tru-Vue version? Let's have a discussion down in the comments section. And if you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. New videos are posted every 2 weeks on the 15th and last day of each month. And if that doesn't satisfy your appetite for Oz, follow the link in the description to ozclub.org and join the International Wizard of Oz Club. Until next time, bye y'all.